Yeah.
What? It's like
Hello.
you're in my head.
Yeah.
Hello.
See, if you can pull it just a little bit closer to you, because I end up always being louder than everybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's all. I don't know any podcast etiquette, so this is great.
Yeah. Oh.
Where am I looking? Because like,
Yeah. So
because I on FaceTime I always look at myself, so
Right.
I'm looking at myself right now. So I'm like, because like, do I look good? Okay.
Yeah. So this is to show you how you look, so you could be like, oh, do I need to adjust?
Yeah.
But the camera's actually there.
All right.
I tend to look and have a conversation,
Okay.
so it just kind of films.
So don't be like,
so we could
yes,
just be like,
Sam. So this is my answer.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay. Done. I feel like this is very like Oprah vibes, you know? Or like, who's that woman that died? That's awesome.
I don't know.
Oh, man. She was on like 60 Minutes.
Barbara Walters?
Barbara Walters. This is very
yeah.
much because she was always so intentional with like the same setup. Like my favorite one is like Whitney Houston, where she was like, let me tell you something. Like crack is whack. Okay. It's cheap. And it was just like a very intimate interview. So this is what it feels like.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honored to have you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Jordan. Wait, when I introduce myself, what do you want to know? just like my name, occupation.
What your name, whatever you want to share to like initiate this deal.
To kick it off.
Yeah.
So my name is Jordan Roseborough. I'll look at the camera. My name is Jordan Roseborough. I am the director of operations at Monarch Athletic Club. I am a former professional soccer player. I am a daughter. I am a friend, and everything in between.
Oh, that's beautiful. So how did you end up being the director of operations over at Monarch Athletic Club?
Ooh, so I moved to LA right before the pandemic, and I went to school with Marielle, and I wanted to be a physician assistant because I had just retired like 2 years prior to that, me moving to LA from soccer professionally, and I was kind of lost. And so I had a background in sports administration, sports medicine, and kinesiology. So I was thinking of careers that I would enjoy and that would, keep me mentally engaged. And I wanted to be an athletic trainer, but I didn't want to go back to school to be an athletic trainer because the loans that you would pull out don't necessarily match like what you would make, and there's like a ceiling. So I was like, okay, I'll be a physician assistant. Like I can make a steady income, start going to school, doing prereqs, and I ended up at Monarch because Marielle, they were just about to open. They were like 2 weeks from opening, and she was like, well, because I was telling her how I need, prereqs. One of the prereqs was being a medical assistant, like a paid medical assistant. And she's like, well, at Monarch, we kind of need that right now. So Monarch's model was like completely different in the beginning. So we would take everyone's blood pressure. We would do a CNS test on the iPad, just like a central nervous tapping left and right. And we would have to record all this information and put it in a system called like Conduct. And so I was like, okay, that's perfect. And then I can, shadow Ryan. Pandemic hit and Ryan kind of got mad. Dr. Green, I don't want to say Ryan, but Dr. Green, I had experience of being an MOD at a Barry's boot camp. And so there would be like little things that I would like try to implement, and they were like, oh, that's a good idea. And so he got mad because I didn't tell him that I had previous experience kind of like working in a fitness club and kind of like the organization stuff behind it. So when the pandemic hit, we closed. I was still taking classes, but when we opened back up in June of 2020, he was like, hey, would love to bring you on as the operations manager. You work really hard, and, we like what you do, and you're reliable and such. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm just taking classes online. Like I can always go back to school. There's no age limit of requirement. And yeah, so I started off like part-time doing classes, and then became the operations manager and worked my way up. Tried to learn everything I could about the business and how it worked and how it operated. And then I just leveled up to director of operations, and now I'm here. So it's been a pretty, it's funny because I'm like, when I retired from soccer, I was like, I know I'll be successful if I find what I'm good at, like I did with soccer.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how because soccer kind of fell in my lap too. Like nobody in my family played soccer.
Wow.
And so we just happened to move to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I started playing soccer, and then I found out I was good at it. And then I just like kept going. And so the same thing, history does repeat itself sometimes, which I'm happy that this good part of history repeated itself, where if you just kind of like, have good intentions and figure out try to find your passion, it'll kind of find you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a very, very long-winded
explanation. That was perfect.
But, yeah.
And very wise words. I think there's like a Rumi quote that what you seek is seeking you.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it good things happen to you when you least expect it.
Yeah.
Or like what you're looking for happens when you kind of like try not to have control and you just be.
Yeah, yeah.
And like that's when magic just like kind of appears and happens for you. Like that happens to me so many times where I'm like, I release control because you can only control what you can control. I can't control like external factors sometimes, only my attitude and effort. That's what we say in the athlete community. As long as you control your attitude and effort, you'll be fine. But sometimes as humans, we try to control things that we can't. Yeah. And then it just makes us more frustrated. Like, why isn't it working? We'll just like allow things to be and it will find you.
Yeah, definitely. I think we also try to control each other. And
yes, 100% try to control each other. That is so true.
And I think that's like the underlying current of most frustration and argument with other people.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you believe in what I believe in? It's like, because I don't have to.
Yeah. But I'm going to make you.
Yeah, like you have to. And I don't know if people are into religion on this podcast, but that's what religion is sometimes. Like, if you don't believe what I believe in, like, you're the devil. It's like, well,
great.
That's a little drastic, but yeah, like there's some people, that's I think why there's so much like controversy. Like I'm allowed to have autonomy and believe in what I want to believe.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
It's so true. But what's even funnier is I studied art history and I was looking at all the religions across culturally, and I'm like, these all are starting to look the same.
They are. They 100% are. It's just like who's loudest at the time. The fact that the Catholic Church was in charge of all of art and I think the Vatican owns like some of the most art in the entire world. Yeah. Like they had, was it Michelangelo was on his, what was that? Yeah.
The Sistine
they had that
Chapel.
man on his back for 16 hours painting the ceiling.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I've seen that thing in person. Is
it beautiful?
It is beautiful, and you wonder like how that man hung up there painting that and just going at it. It's incredible. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a lot of artists nowadays that would go to such lengths for something at this point.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I wouldn't spend an hour up there. Not even 5 minutes, on my back. No. That's such the patience it takes. That's also what we lack as humans. Like, we want to control and we lack patience.
Yeah,
anything.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Patience is going, it's slowly doing one of these. It's just,
100%.
And then the attention, because I feel it's with the attention span. I made a 2-minute video and people are like, it's too long. And I'm like, it's 2 minutes.
You know what? It's too long if it's not interesting to you. You know what I mean? Like, if it's something like, I used to be obsessed with like the Aztecs.
Yeah.
And and I would watch things for on YouTube for hours. But if it was something I wasn't interested in, I'd be like, oh my God, this is boring. 30 seconds in. Yeah. So people say that, but it's like, you're not interested. Just say I'm not that interested in it. Not that it's too long. Like what? It's 2 minutes. You would watch anything that you were interested in for hours if you wanted to.
Yes. So thank you for calling me uninteresting.
No. No, it's definitely their problem. It's not your problem. It's not. But it's like some people they don't have time to do it, and they're like, oh no, it's too long. No, or you just didn't want to do it at that time. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
No, you're very interesting.
No, I love to take things personally. Let's spice it up.
Yeah, no, it keeps things interesting.
It does. It does.
What is it?
No, I'm doing it. Provocative.
Provocative. I'm okay. I think I am.
I'm not. So I'm rubbing off on you.
Yeah, no, we're rubbing off on each other. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron.
It does. That's you have some beautiful perspectives on reality.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
It's it really, really beautiful metaphors. It means, like, for me, what I see is, like, you've done a lot of thinking about stuff.
Yeah, reflection is key.
Yeah.
It's if you don't have reflection, I think it's mostly because your ego stops you from doing that.
Yeah.
People, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, that was my fault.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's really hard to do that. But with reflection comes clarity.
Yeah.
And if you are able to reflect and see both sides and all sides and kind of see your faults and kind of see where you could make changes, even if you're not in the wrong, like that'll just help you see life differently, I think.
Yeah, no, that's well said. That's what I
Yeah.
do by myself, and just keep it to myself.
I mean, I do that too. I have arguments all the time with myself.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I always think I'm driving my dad's car right now, and I forget his windows aren't tinted because my car is in the shop. And mine are tinted, and I forget his aren't. So I'll just, like, have conversations. I'm like, I hope people aren't, like, looking at me being like, who is she? Is she on the phone? Is she singing to the radio? Because I'll literally just be, like, in a full-on, like, looking at the road, having, like, a pretend argument with, like, a situation I'm reflecting on of, like, what I should have said or, like, what I shouldn't have said. So, no, I talk to myself during reflection as well, so.
I do too.
Yeah, it's healthy.
It's extremely healthy. People make it seem unhealthy because there's a lot of people on the streets talking to themselves.
All you have to you just got to go to Skid Row and you'll see a whole bunch of reflection.
Yeah, as long as you can reflect and get out of it,
Yeah.
then you're good. But some people went into reflection and didn't come back.
Left. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. There's a bad stigma with talking to yourself.
Yeah, I remember thinking this when cell phones came out. I was like, oh, now I can talk to myself and nobody's gonna know if I'm on the phone or if I'm just talking.
Yeah, just pop those AirPods in.
Yeah, and it's just, oh, she's just getting shit done. Look at her.
Look
you
at
know?
her. She's being a boss.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Before I started this podcast, something inside of me told me to start talking in front of a camera and
I remember
to
you
myself.
telling me that.
Yeah, and I was just so for hours and like hours and hours and hours. And I just recently found a video of me back before at the very beginning. I showed it to Maseo. He's like, this is terrifying.
But honestly, like you had to get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So
Yep.
yeah, that was the right move.
Thank God I did it. Like, because if I was like here and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and I'm just like, hi everyone, like this is the Monarch Arts and Wellness Foundation. We're here to make dreams come true.
Yeah, no. And you're like sweating, and it's like, can they see it? Like, is it gonna translate on camera? I don't know.
I think the lights are bright enough to just get rid of it.
Or just make the
I was gonna say,
You're like, why is it glistening? Is it?
She's like a light bulb.
Yeah, it's the makeup. The makeup people didn't help us.
It's their
today.
fault.
Yeah,
We blame them.
They didn't powder us before. So.
No, that's a goal. I need to get makeup artist, hair. I usually have Milo here on the 1 and 2s to be my Jamie, but he had other things to do. He's like, sorry, I'm not going to be there today. I'm like, I have 4 podcasts. He's like, yeah, I love you.
I can't be there, so good luck.
Yeah, he's actually moving. So I was like,
that's a good excuse.
Yeah.
He's got somewhere. He's got to go live somewhere.
Yeah.
Or else he's gonna be with the people talking to themselves.
he would. Like, oh shit, there goes Milo.
Yeah. My bad. Yeah.
That would be horrible. I was pretty close to actually being one of those people that legit went onto the deep end and didn't come out.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was like definitely difficult. Like I was on a 5150. You know what a 5150 is?
No, what's that?
So a 5150 is a 72-hour hold, and it's because I was a threat to myself and or others.
Oh no! Who called it on you?
Well, because it went on for like 2 days.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, I laugh at this.
Yeah. 2 days. So someone didn't call or
so for So I did something really dumb. I decided to take a heroic dose of LSD mixed with MDMA, and
Gotcha.
it was a beautiful experience. I came out of it great, and then later on, I decided to take a hit of pot. I'm very sensitive to pot, and I blacked out. And then after that, I was running around the street without my clothes on, talking to things that nobody saw, like running through different scenarios in my head. I wasn't sleeping. I was seeing things. It was. My neighbor and my ex finally called 911. They're like, she needs
There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, she's not coming down.
She's gone.
Yeah. Like, we got to get people that know where to do. And then so they took me to this place, and something inside of me told me to behave with this one woman who interviewed me. And thank God I did, because she was the one woman that was going to extend my stay, like long term.
Yeah.
And
So you're like,
I was like, I had no idea actually at the time who she was. I was just like, oh, it's just another lady. And
just
something inside.
intuition.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, tell her your name, where you're from, like act completely. And I was like, hi, I'm Samantha. And she was like, oh yeah, she's fine. So signed off. She left. I went back to peeing on myself, taking my clothes off. Like,
I'm dead.
it was horrible. And so then at some point they're like, we need to put her down, like a wild animal.
Oh no.
And so four security guards tried. They could not put me down because I thought they were trying to like stop me from like connecting to the universe. And I was like, no.
You're just unstoppable. You're thinking, listen, I may look small, but I'm mighty.
Yeah. And so they were like, what the fuck? So then they finally got a fifth guy, and he was just massive. So then the four of them plus him sat on me, and then they put the injection in, and I went night-night. Yeah. When I woke up, it all kind of sort of started, and then I realized all the stories and the visuals I was seeing were like fears and doubts and different beliefs that I had. And the moment I realized that, it all kind of went silent. And I was just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And then as I was leaving, the guy there was like, you need to come back here and help these people, because he saw me went from a total psychosis to back to like ground level.
Yeah.
And like at the time I was just like, what is he talking? Come back here and help these people? Like, I'm getting the fuck out of this fucking place. Like, bye.
Yeah.
And so now like, I'm here, like I now see what I did, and I'm just like, oh yeah, my story can help people like know that like you can get out of psychosis. They don't tell you that you can get out of like schizophrenic states or psychotic states or that or this. Most people like give them drugs and they'll be fine. Like, I'm not on any of those things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's for me part of this mission is so important is because I do have that valuable story, you know, of coming out of run around the street naked.
Yeah, I mean, that's also something that we don't do as humans too. Like, I feel like when something like that happens to us, we tend to like hold it in instead of reaching other people that have gone through similar experiences.
Yeah.
Everyone's experiences are going to be slightly different for sure, based on like, you know, personalities and upbringing and things like that. But that's why I think this podcast is great, because it's just an open conversation about people's life and their experiences and how they've gotten to where they are. And, you know, everybody has adverse moments, but like, how do you, like, there's no book, like when you're born into the world, like no one teaches you really how to handle adverse moments that you don't ever think that you would ever be in. So the more like you can continue to have this type of podcast with the different personalities is gonna help more people than you'll ever think.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. It's been a lot of fun, like actually talking to people and not myself. Like I love talking to myself. But
don't get me wrong, I love me, but it helps talking to another human.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Makes it more interesting.
Yeah. I don't have to like, you know, go. I don't have to hold the entire conversation.
Yeah. No, it's hard putting everything on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I would love to know more about your soccer career.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you want me to start?
I don't know, something that you would love to share about that.
Soccer. So I guess soccer, like I said before, like it's not something that I come from, as you can tell, an all black family, where soccer wasn't a sport like that we played typically in the black community. And so I was always a track and basketball athlete first. My parents played volleyball. My mom played volleyball at the University of Louisville, and then my dad played basketball at Stevens Point University in, I forget what city, but it's in Wisconsin. And so they both grew up athletes. They were really good. And they both ran track and all those things. So when I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I was born in Chicago, and then my dad's from Milwaukee, so then we moved there. I just started playing. It was like something in me just like took over. Like, I had played the sport before, but I'd never played it before. I just got that feeling that, like, I just kind of always knew what to do.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain why. Like, I'd never played the sport. I was like 8 or 9. I'd never played, or 7 or 8. I'd never played the sport before, but it just clicked.
Yeah.
And so I played all of 2nd grade, and all the boys like would love for me to like play with them because I was like the only girl that was like good, and everybody wanted me on their team. So I was like, okay, new kid, and you know, getting picked first. This is cool. And then my parents I don't think they were just like, how are you good at soccer? Like, nobody plays that. And one of the parents was like, she's really good. And my mom's like a really tough critic, and she's like, I was a shy kid, so she was like, I don't know if she like has the heart like to play sports. Like, she's super shy. Like, you have to be aggressive. Yeah. And I just like wasn't that like at home, I guess. And so they were like, okay. They put me on this like rec team. They were called the Twister Sisters, which is such an odd name. I don't know who came up with that. And they saw me, and they're like, oh, wait, she is good. Yeah. Like, I was scoring like 5 goals a game. Oh, wow. Like, I was just super athletic, and I was bigger than everybody. And so, yeah, it's funny how everything falls into place when you're, like we said earlier, like, if you just release things, like, what will come to you will come. Yeah. And my best friend at the time, my my best friend when we were kids, her dad was like, she should try out for this club team. And my parents, again, like, they played sports where there were they just played high school sports. Yeah. Like, you play in high school. There was AAU back then, but like, even then, like with my dad, you got recruited playing at your high school. Yeah. That was like in the 70s or 80s. So there was no like organized outside of like school. Yeah. So like, what's a club?
So they're like, off to a nightclub.
Yeah, they're like, what does that mean? And so they had no idea like anything. Yeah. And so I try out. I'm super raw. Like, I'm just athletic, but like technique wise, I'm extremely raw. I was just faster than everybody. And so the only reason I make the team is because the girl that originally invited me went to a different club, because she was one of like 5 girls. And so they didn't want her to play for a different club, because that club was just one team. They didn't have like older teams. Yeah. And so they were like, well, we're not going to have you play at this club, and then your sisters are it's just too many different locations for us to drive. There's 5 of you. Yeah. So she went to a different club, and that's the only reason I made the team, is because, So, and from there, it just took off. And I think it was a blessing that I was kind of like naive and oblivious to like I didn't know at the time. I'm, in 3rd grade, 4th grade. I didn't know you could get a scholarship to go play in college. Like, I didn't know that. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about college. I was just enjoying the love of the game. Yeah. And even when I got to high school, it never fully registered that like I could get a scholarship to play. I just knew I was really good at it, and it just made sense, and it was the most comfortable thing. I stopped playing other sports. I was a 3-sport athlete. And my dad will never let me live this down, but I guess at one point I was like, I had the fastest time in the 400 in the state of Michigan, and I didn't know it, because I just like, again, I was just oblivious to things. I was just doing. Yeah. Which is good, because I think it allowed me to not put pressure on myself. Yeah. Which most athletes do. You put a ton of pressure on yourself to make this team, or to do this, or to do that. Yeah. And I was just kind of like doing it. Not that I wasn't intentional. Like I practiced on my own and did all of those things. But like I got to a point where I think it was like my freshman year in high school, I started receiving like college interest. And I would get like a couple of letters every single day of just like colleges all over the country, like interested in getting to know me as a player and my grades, because they can't technically talk to you yet. Yeah. They can just put out like a questionnaire to let you know that they're interested in you, that they've seen you play, and they want to start building a relationship with you, essentially. Sophomore year, my club team. I moved to Virginia, so I basically like start over, and have to be with a different team, have to be in a different environment. And with soccer, like some teams play certain systems, and this team played a completely different system and had different ideologies of soccer, and I learned a lot. But that was my first adverse moment of, okay, I'm in a new team. Usually when I would come to a new team, I would start right away.
Yeah.
But this team was completely different, and I didn't start right away. And that was kind of like my first, like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, how, like, what do I do? You know, like, I'm a hard worker, I'm fit, I'm whatever. And it was the first time that I had to actually speak for myself and have a voice for myself and be like, okay, what do I need to do in order to play?
Yeah.
And that helped me grow immensely because I was taking ownership of my own talent. And it wasn't my parents being like, okay, why isn't she playing? My parents were like, we're not playing like, we're not on the field. Like, you go ask. And so I appreciate them doing that because it taught me to take ownership of what I love and my ability.
Yeah.
And if I want something, like, my mom always says, a no is just an opportunity for a yes. Like, it's if someone tells you no, like, okay, you told me no to do it this way, but like, okay, I'm going to come back in 2 days and ask you what else, because I'm going to do what you told me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back in 2 days and ask you what else, because I've spent so much time mastering it. What else do I need to do?
Yeah.
So that was my mentality. And eventually I just started really integrating into the team to the point where I was like a good part of it. But that's when the mental aspect of sports really kind of kicked in, because I was a versatile player, because I was athletic and I was technical. I could play any position. So I got moved around a lot. And I thought it was because I thought it was a negative thing, because I'm like, okay, well, my main position is this, but you're having me play this.
Yeah.
And then I had to have another talk with myself of like, okay, but what is best for the team? And like, how can I still shine but still play a different position and be versatile? Because, and I'm thankful for it. Hindsight's always 20/20. But as I got older, my IQ of the game widened, because I got to see the game from so many different points of view. So I would play outside back one day, then I would play, we played something called a 3-5-2. So you have 3 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 2 forwards. There was times where I played in the middle. There's times I played on the outside. There was one time I played up top. But it helped me understand runs. It helped me understand tactics. It helped me understand so much. Yeah. And so I used to think of it as a negative thing, because it was an ego, like, okay, but I'm better at this position. Why aren't I not playing? Why am I put out on the outside? Like, did I not earn that? Yeah. But it was like, what did the team need? We needed someone outside that was technical and that could beat defenders. That was me. I was the best person for that job. Okay, well, we need someone who's very good in the air. That was me. So you're going to play holding mid today because you're very good in the air. And we need someone that's physical and that's going to control the ball and secure the ball. That was me. So for different games, I played different positions because I served different purposes. And that's how it is in life sometimes. Like, you're going to have to do different things because you're good at it and you're the best person to do it at that time. And so I was a jack of all trades. And I was listening to this podcast where it was like, it's a negative connotation of being a jack of all trades, a master of none, right? But I think the true quote is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but it's like better than being a master of one. And that's so true. Like, I was able to do everything, and it helped me just like mentally be okay with like not too much of a sacrifice, but a sacrifice enough to still serve me, but serve others as well. And that's kind of what life is. So we won nationals. After that, I started getting, at 16, I started getting literally like 10 letters a day.
Holy shit. Of
like everything. I was good at school, but I wasn't like the best because I was kind of lazy. Because there's certain subjects I just wasn't interested in. And so I remember I got like letters from like Ivies. It was like Brown, Dartmouth, Princeton, I think I got one from Yale, like a letter, and my parents just kind of like giggled, and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "There's no way you're gonna get into those schools." And I was like, it's probably right. You know, like I had like a 3.1, like and you have to get in on your own merit at those schools. Like they don't give you any help there because you're an athlete. So like you actually have to like get in.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting in. And my parents were like, "You might as well just go ahead and put that in the no pile." I was like, okay. But that was an interesting process because I'm 16 years old trying to pick a school to go to and at the time I was a junior. So I'm trying to find a school to go to, and I have to make a decision by like the winter. So this is like fall of my junior year. I have to make a decision by like winter of my junior year of like where I'm going to go, because money starts to run out for scholarship wise. But it's just such an interesting concept that at 16 I had to figure out where I wanted to go, not like the next year, but I had to still wait a whole year and a half before I even went to college. And so having to make that decision and having my parents involved in the decision, and like I don't know the right answer. Like I barely know what I'm doing 2 months from now. Like, and you want me to figure out where I'm going to go to school in a year and a half and like be happy for 4 years? Like that's insane. Yeah. So it was a very hard decision. I ended up choosing the University of Miami, which I think I chose it because it was in the conference that I wanted. It was sunny. It was kind of away from my parents. The school size was smaller. It had about 10,000 undergrad, which for a big major school like that is pretty good. Because I knew I needed more like an intimate thing. I would get lost at Ohio State, which is one of the schools I was looking at. That was very interested, and I loved that school, but it was just too. Again, I'm 16 going on a visit, and the school's huge, where it's 50,000 undergrad. That's intimidating, you know. Yeah. Knowing what I know now, like if I were to make that decision now at my age, I would have been like, all right, fuck yeah, let's do it. Yeah. But at 16, I'm like, I have to take a bus to practice, and then from practice, I got to take a bus to class, and then I got to take a bus to the dorms. Like, what if I miss it? I don't have a car. Like, what? It was just such a big campus that it intimidated me a little bit. And I was like, I need something more that's smaller, but still a top D1 school. And so that was the University of Miami, and I had an okay experience my first 2 years. I dealt with adversity again in a different way. And then my last 2 years were probably they were so much fun. I had a different coach who was amazing. He taught me a lot of philosophies about life that I still use to this day. But soccer and sports have told me that like not everything is going to be perfect. And you have to stick through it sometimes if it's something that you really want, because I really love soccer, but I had a coach my freshman and sophomore year who just wasn't a good mentor. She wasn't very understanding. She just wasn't a good leader or person to look up to and necessarily like help you be a better person. It was a lot of drama, a lot of things that just like it wasn't about soccer, it was about her. And then we got a coach we got to coach my junior and senior year, Tom and Agnes, who he had some interesting tactics, but he was a no bullshit type of person, and he made us feel okay with being who we were, because we were kind of like really aggressive and like would talk shit and whatever, and he invited that grit, like he wanted that out of us, and he nurtured that, and to the point where like I think all of us felt like we could do whatever we wanted in this world, like we can accomplish anything.
Oh well,
like that's the type
so empowering.
Yeah, that's the type of confidence he instilled, is like I can do anything. Yeah. Because he put us through one of the most grueling springs ever. Like he came in the spring of my sophomore season, because my coach got fired in the fall, and so we had already picked our classes, and he was like, "That's we're still gonna, if you have practice at 8, we're gonna practice at 6 then." Yeah. Excuse me? He was like, "Yeah, and then we're gonna practice in the afternoon," and I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah." So like he added like practices with, because we get to pick our classes early as athletes because of field times or whatever. We get first pick. So like we had picked our classes like well before the semester had even ended. So like every week there was no changing anything. And he would make us do like, he had something called sacreds, and we had to like memorize them. And we had to take a test before each game. And if he didn't care if you were a starter, like that's what I really loved about him, is he was like, even if you were if you're the starter and you don't get X amount out of X amount, you're not going to start.
Yeah.
Like these are things that are important for the team, and it was about, there's things that for every position that everybody needed to know. He's like, this is how we're going to play. Like you all need to know this. Like, I'm not asking for 100%, but you should at least get 90% of this. Yeah. And I remember being so nervous. I was like sweating taking it because it had to be verbatim. Like, verbatim to what he said. I was sweating because it was our first game. We were in Portland, Oregon, playing the University of Portland. I'm drenched in sweat because I'm like, I have test anxiety. Am I going to forget? I didn't forget anything. It was great, but everything was fair. That was the first time that everything was fair in college. And he invited that in all of us. So after that spring, like it was so grueling with the fitness, with everything that we did. It was mentally challenging as well as physically challenging, and like we made it through. And I was like, we had so much like swag after that because we knew that nobody in all of college was going through the grueling season or the spring season that we went through. And the fact that we iron sharpened iron, like we figured out who our top people were on that team, like our top 15 people, like we found out who those people were. And he liked that we were aggressive and gritty and were unfiltered. He invited that. So I had a good last 2 years, and he had this thing where he would say, like, you know, each day you're trying to be better than you were the day before. And that's kind of how I live my life now. Like yesterday, maybe I was 85%. Let's at least get to 90% today. Like how much better can I increase who I am and my knowledge, and sharpen who I am as a person? I need to be better than I was yesterday. And if I keep doing that, like there's no like limit. Like I'm never gonna, hopefully I never reach 100%, because I don't think that's ever real. Like you don't reach 100% of who you really are. Like you're constantly trying to evolve and change. But like it's limitless. You're just focusing until you leave this earth. You should be trying to be better than you were the day before. Yeah,
definitely.
That's
I want to train with this coach.
Tom and Agnes is again, he had some interesting tactics, but he cared about us. And that's what you felt. You felt that he cared about us and he wanted us to be successful, not just in soccer, but just like when we left the school, like we should be successful humans. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Like you're hearing you tell this story. I was like, I want to go through this grueling spring training.
It was bad. Like I had class at 8, and a lot of us did. So, and we already had, because we would have practice in the afternoon, so we would all have to wake up at like 5:15. Because we had to be on the field 15 minutes before, and so we would get there, have a practice for an hour and a half, shower, go to class, then come back at 2, lift. After the lift, go out and play, or do whatever we had. And then like do it all again the next. And some of us had like night classes, so like then we would go to night class, and then wake up and do it all over again. Like it was pretty grueling, but it was one of those things where you just like put your head down and you just did it. There was no questions asked. We all at the time we had a ton of talent on the team, and we weren't showing that. And so there's no coincidence that the year before we only lost like 3 seniors. We were terrible. Like our record was bad. It was real bad. And then his first year, we make it to the NCAA tournament. We make it to the ACC tournament. And that school hadn't done that since they were and I think they had a soccer team since like 2000, like early 2000s, 2005 or something like that. So in the history of the school, they'd never made it to like the second round of NCAAs and the ACC tournament. And we did that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, like it's the same exact team minus 3 people.
Yeah.
And we've added, some freshmen. Some of the freshmen played integral parts in the team. I think 2 of them did. So like it's not like we completely changed the team. It was the same exact people.
Yeah.
And like look at what we accomplished. So that's why it's like sometimes who's in your life is important, because they can either make you or break you.
Yeah.
And that was eye-opening for me too, like having the exact same team and accomplishing more. And we probably had a better team, to be honest. My freshman and sophomore year, our team we had so many good players. And for us to we had a good team, but to not have those other like seniors that we had before that were just like huge players says a lot about like who was there before him, right? Because he put the belief in us that we could hang with anybody. It didn't matter. Like, get it done. Be gritty. Be that asshole on the field. Like, it's soccer. You're here to compete. I remember one time he was playing this is when I knew I really liked him. We were playing a drill, and he was the person that was distributing the ball. And his thing was like, as soon as the ball goes out, we need to be there to like whoever's ball it is. Like you need to be that whole team needs to be demanding the ball like right away for a quick start. And I think he got distracted doing something, and and so he was late, and I was checking hard, and I was like, play in the fucking ball, and he. Which like it surprised myself, but I was just in that like zone. Yeah. And he kind of like looked at me and he smiled and he played it to me. And then after he was like, I liked that. He's like that. I that's the type of like energy we need. Yeah, I like that. And I was like, I'm so like I didn't mean to swear at you. He's like, no. Like I liked the intensity of that. Like don't change. Like that's what the team needs. Is like. You didn't care that it was me. You were caring about your team and started and doing what I'm asking you to do. And you held me accountable. And I was like, is this a trick? And so, and that's just how he invited that. He wanted us to have that, like, I'm going to fuck you up. Yeah. I don't care who's around. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm going all in. Yeah. I don't care if I get hurt. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's kind of like my journey with soccer. And then professionally, I loved playing soccer. Just got to a point where I was like, 2 things. I was dealing with the death of my boyfriend. And then on top of that, I was like, is the money worth it? Like, how far can I take it? And am I going to be left behind if I continue to go and play doing something that I love when the money's not necessarily there at the time. This was like in 2017. And so women's soccer has grown so much, and I love it. Where people are actually getting paid. They're not still not getting paid what they deserve as playing a professional sport, but it's a lot better where people can kind of at least live and not have to get like, another job. It's still not perfect, but it just got to a point where it was like, do I want to be left behind? I felt like I had this like thing of like being left behind. Like I'm playing soccer, and if I enter the real world, is like 30 too late to start a career outside of like starting a new career. I had that like fear of that, and then on top of that, just dealing with my boyfriend's death in 2016, and then like a couple months later, I just like walked away from the sport. It was hard. I was lost because I didn't prepare. I just kind of like did it. Hindsight's, again, I keep saying that 2020. I definitely should have played one more season, but I wouldn't have been an additive to a team mentally, because I just like wasn't there mentally to like be a good teammate and to give everything, just because I was dealing with like the heartbreak of just like essentially watching my boyfriend become brain dead in a hospital bed. So it was just like I couldn't push past that at all. Like it was really hard, because I lost soccer and I lost him like all in one. And so it was like, what do I do now? You know, like who am I? So it was a very difficult transition, which normally it isn't for most people, because they only have to deal with one death, and that's the death of like who they were before, which is an athlete, or their identity, which is hard in itself, because you've been one way. I had been one way for like 20 years, you know, which is soccer player. That's what people know me as, is like, oh, Jordan, oh, she plays soccer. Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. So you're dealing with that and kind of not bearing that part of you, but like it has to go, because you have to find out who you are again. And then with Conrad, his passing was just so sudden. I was just kind of like in shock that even occurred in someone so young. So yeah, that was in itself that took a while. That also is what took me a while to kind of like transition and to kind of figure out what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I didn't know. Like, if I was like, I would cry.
Yeah, no, it was difficult.
Yeah, like, because you're so young, they're so young, and then also like the part of you that like, because I had to face the same thing of like, I thought I wasn't gonna walk again or ride again.
Yeah.
So in horses, or like that was.
And that's who you were.
Yeah, and so like I sat with what you said.
It's hard.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. I had conversations. I was like, what am I even good at? Like, it's been a minute since I have no idea how to work. Do I even have Excel on my laptop? Like, I don't know. Like, if someone were like, write something, it would take me a couple of days, because I don't know what what do you want me to write about? I don't know. It's just like, I didn't know who I was outside of the soccer player. Yeah. And my mother would always ask me who I was. She's like, who are you outside of soccer? I'm like, stop asking me that. Like, I'm a soccer player. What are you talking about? Yeah. She's like, there's going to come a time where you don't play. And this is like at 16. I'm like, whatever, Mom. Like, keep driving. Like, I don't want to have this conversation. Yeah. But it's true. Like, who are you? Like, you don't know who you are. Like, all you know is horses and the feeling that you feel when you're competing or doing whatever. And then when you lose that, like, do I have a person? Was that my personality? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a huge part of your time commitment, your day, your ethics, your moral. Like, you're built into that sport.
Yeah.
You know, and then to have it completely removed, it's like the thing that you're really good at is now gone. So everything else, you're kind of like, oh.
100%. You're like, ee.
Yeah. It's intense.
It's super intense.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, you not knowing if you're going to be able to even, like, walk. Like, you're dealing with that, and then you're like, oh, fuck, that means I'll never ride horses.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's the one thing that brought you peace. Like, when I play soccer now, it took me a while to play, to get back, like, on the field and, like, play. I don't think.
Yeah.
It's like my meditation. Yeah. I literally I just allow my body to be.
You just do it.
Yeah, I just do it. And there is some thinking, like I'm like, okay, I need to step left or I need to step right. But to me, that's like, I'm still at peace.
Yeah, it's a different kind of direction when you're in the sport and you're doing it and everything's operating at a really fast pace. There are like, oh, I need to put the like you but it's more of a feeling thought than like a thinking thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 100%. Because it's like I'll play, like I played last night, and like I'm playing, and I based on a person's body language, I know he was going to pass to a certain player, so I'm already running. Yeah. But it was such like a quick thought that I was just allowing my body to be instinctual. Yeah. And soccer has always been my meditation, and so then when I stopped playing completely, I lost that part of like that thing that made me calm. Yeah. And that like brought me like happiness, but it was just too painful to like play again.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. It's funny that you mentioned that. Like for riding, I read the horse, but you read people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting, because that's what I literally have to read the horse to see if they're going to do anything that it's not necessarily what I'm gonna want them to do. And so like I have to catch it while also riding what I'm doing at the moment, and just then it makes it come second nature.
Yeah.
So it almost looks like whatever you're doing is like effortless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's instinctual and thinking ahead. You have to think 3 steps ahead of what you're doing, because like you could be thrown off. Your horse could hit something. Like you have to think for yourself and for the horse. Yeah. Which is like, I don't think people who do it, I don't think we realize like how hard that actually is. Yeah. You know, like it's super hard to have that level of IQ that you have about riding horses. Yeah. But you've put in the time, the effort, so now it's instinctual, and you allow you automatically think 3 steps ahead. Yeah. For me, luckily, people's eyes tell me everything. Yeah. So I can tell. It's funny because I talk shit in co-ed. And I don't tell anyone my level of like play. I always play myself down. I'm like, oh no, I played in high school. And
like a pool shark.
Yeah, and sometimes like someone will be like, no, she played in college and professionally. I'm like, shh. I'm trying to do it. Have you seen White Man Can't Jump?
A long time
Yeah,
ago.
so you know how like they basically like acted like he couldn't play basketball. Yeah. That's kind of what I do. I'm like, like my shoes are untied. Like,
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. I played in high school.
Played a little bit.
Yeah, I played a little bit, but I talk shit, so I can tell when someone's about to hit a long ball, because they look down and then they look up. And when they look up for a long time,
where they're going.
Yeah, and you can tell where their eyes are. So they'll look really far, and then they'll put their head down and they'll wind. And I'm like, he's going long. So just like drop. Yeah. So it's little things like that, or like I can tell if a person won't use their left foot. I can just tell, because they'll always cut back. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to force you left and see what you got.
You put them into their weakness.
Yeah, you put them into their weakness. But people's eyes and people's body language, like I can tell, it's very simple too. Like if someone doesn't check their shoulder in soccer, you should. So if you're receiving a ball here, I should look to see what's behind me. If they don't look, I know they don't know that I'm coming. Right? And so if they don't know that I'm coming, I know that, you know, and I've studied them before. Like I study everybody, like their first touch, how is it? You know, because sometimes someone takes a poor first touch and it's kind of like a fluke, you know, it's just a whatever. They weren't paying attention. But I'll notice someone's first touch if it's bad or not, especially if their back is facing me. And that's how I read too. So like someone will play in a ball, I'm like, okay, their first touch is pretty tight. All right. Yeah. Second ball, okay, it's consistent. So now what do I have to adjust? So when they play the ball and I look at other things, they didn't look their shoulder, they're flat-footed. Now I can go around them if I see someone trying to play them a ball. So third time they come in, I don't check their shoulder. I know that they are flat-footed, because that means they're going to take a first touch. Now I just intercept it. Wow. So it's like there's all of those things happen in like such a short amount of time. Or if someone has a bad touch and I've peeped that they had a bad touch, I know they're going to take a first touch every time. They take a first touch, it's maybe a little too far. Now I just keep my run going. I don't even stop and put my hand on their back. I just keep going. Because I know that they're going to basically pass it to me. Yeah. Because their first touch is going to be too far. So it's like little things like that like start to become instinctual, and that becomes like my piece, because I know it's coming and I don't have to think. I can just like read cues, and that just opens up the game for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's.
But you do the same thing.
Yeah. It's just I've never cause I'm all in my head about it, and Tim and I, we don't really talk too much during my lessons, because with the horses it's all telepathic. So there's a lot of like not thinking and just doing, and so he's like mind over matter, and I'm like, all right. People think we're insane. Yeah. But then we're like operating at a different level from everyone at the question center. People are like, how the fuck? I was like, does Tim give you a lesson? I'm like, yeah. Does he say no? It's
yeah. No, it's like once you operate at a high level, like even now, like coaches can teach me things. Yeah. But I pick it up because I'm already at this
Yeah.
certain level of IQ of the sport. Same with you. Like, you're
Yeah.
already at this level of how to ride and how to move and how to read the horse, how to read the different elements, how to see that there's, like, if you're on a trail, like, there's a branch, and, like, how do you go about all of those things, like controlling what you can control in that environment.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes a coach doesn't have to say much.
Yeah.
You know, like, once you get to a certain level, like, there's certain time when I was playing pro, like, my coach didn't have to, he's like, okay, this is how we're playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no questions, because, like, I my IQ is high enough where someone who isn't as experienced would be like, okay, so I'm kind of confused. Do I slide left, or it's like, no, just play. We'll figure it out. You don't always have to be, you know, not everything has to be explained, and that's the beauty of it when you reach a high level. Is like you just get it.
Yeah. It just comes, like, because we're doing these things called pirouettes. So I'm teaching the gray horse how to do these pirouettes, and it's basically like cantering in place while circling. And so it's like you're stalled, but you're moving in a circle. It's highly.
And they're doing this.
We're also teaching him that. That's the
What's
pee
this
off.
one?
That's a pee off.
Oh, that's a pee off.
Yeah. So we're working on the pee off at the moment, and the pirouette. And riding those movements is different from training those movements.
Ooh.
It's like people don't realize that riding those movements, that's really, like, I could do that. You hand it, but teaching.
Sorry, what do you mean by riding those movements?
So,
what does
like,
that mean?
riding a pirouette, like a horse that's already trained, already knows what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Taking them through a pirouette is very simple. If
Gotcha.
the horse does it, and you are aware of the buttons and the cues. But teaching a horse that's never done it before is a whole other, like, animal.
Yeah, because they can't speak English.
Yeah. So I'm basically telling them, like, hey, bro, we're trying to get to this circle thing where you stall and you don't move. You've never done it before. Yeah. We're going to do it today.
Go in a circle. Do you understand me? In a circle.
But don't move your legs. You have to, because the back legs have to stay, and basically they pivot around the back leg. Yeah, I'll show you a video afterward. Yeah. It's really beautiful. It's just, to get there, it's a process.
Yeah, how do you teach how much do they weigh? Like 500 pounds?
Half ton.
Yeah, like how do you teach a 500 pound, like, animal to do that? Like, I can barely teach my 98 pound dog to, like, I try to teach him to go through my legs. Yeah. And, like, he just doesn't get it. Yeah. Because he's never done it before. So it's like, now I got to, like, take a treat and be like, come here, and, like, through my legs. And he'll get it because the treat. And then I'll be like, all right, let's do it. And he'll be like, yeah. So I couldn't imagine doing that if he was, like, 500 pounds. Like, hey, go on one leg and spin in a circle. Like,
yeah, no, it's a process. It's if you first start out little bits, like it's like I get him to move with, like, sideways without moving his back end, and so we see how far we get there, and then it's like,
gotcha.
It's like good boy, and he's like, oh, I did good, and so then it's like, and then you just keep moving it and increasing it and seeing how far you get, and then sometimes you go all the way back to the beginning because you're like fuck.
He's like squirrel.
Yeah, it's like shit. I thought we had it, and then it's like nope, and then so you got to go right back to square one. But it's a lot of visualization and feeling with horses because they're so sensitive that they can feel what I'm thinking, and so when I visualize it and feel it, they're like, oh, you want me to do that? Okay, like it's like Avatar. And so you really have to get deep into your feelings when you're teaching and training a horse, because they can literally, like, they can feel a fly on them that's like this. They can feel when your head's moved a little bit. They can also feel what you're thinking. That's why when you get on a horse and you're scared, they're like, what's this? What's your problem? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Should I be scared?
Yeah. Like, so that when you're calm and you visualize, they actually pick up on that, and your body will set up in the right position once you already have that, like, foundation set. Where then it's like, they're like, oh, you, okay. Like, and then it's like, good boy. Oh, yeah, we're on.
Yeah. Do you have to, like, is there, like, a prep that you do with the horses? And, like, when you're teaching them, when you're going out to, like, teach them a new, like, skill, like, do you, like, prep them by, like, being super happy, or are you just kind of like a regular day? It's
always relaxed whenever I get on them, because I just remind myself that this is a lethal weapon. Like, this,
it's 500 pounds.
Yeah. So, like, I remind myself, okay, focus. To me, it's more about focus and being calm and relaxed and clear, so that I can avoid all the realities where my life changes dramatically in not a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that to me, that's literally the most paramount thing. Tim and I'll come out with an idea of what we want to do, but the horse is the one that
Dictates.
Yeah, because
Gotcha.
sometimes the lesson is not going to go that way, and so we just have to go with where the horse wants to go. If we tried to force that lesson into them, we're not listening to what the horse is telling us, that
Gotcha.
they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
So we gotta change the game plan and rework what we're doing to better suit the animal.
Man, that's tough. That's so tough because they legit don't talk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like you have to be so in tune with yourself so that like you can be in tune with the animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, man. So how do you calm yourself? You just take a deep breath.
Yes. Yes, I'm at this point. I'm very good at what I do, so I don't actually get nervous about riding. It's more of just centering and focusing my mind.
Yeah.
So that I'm like, hey, remember, this thing can kill you.
Yeah.
And that really sobers
That
me
would
up.
scare me.
Yeah.
I'd be nervous. I'd be like, oh, he could literally chuck me and I'd fly into a tree.
Yeah. This year, like last year or something, I got kicked in the head. I was wearing a
Oh
helmet.
my goodness.
Yeah, I fell off, and then the horse's foot hit me, cracked my helmet. I cried because I was like, that was death.
Yeah. Like, was it like he was trying to move? Like,
I fell off, and I did something stupid as I tried to stay on.
oh, and so he was
And
just
so
walking.
he was running, and I slipped in front of him, and then so my head, boom.
Did he stop?
He took off.
Oh,
No.
he
he
was
went
like-
for a joyride. He's like, "Wah, I'm free!"
That is so. I have a question. Do you think you were born to do that, like to ride horses?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you think like that is your gift?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was little, from the age of I think at least 5, I asked my parents for a horse up until I was 13.
Dang.
So something inside of me was like, "Don't give up this. Don't
Yeah.
give up on this. Like, I need a horse. I need a
You
horse.
asked
I need
for
a horse."
years. Yeah.
Years. And my parents were like, finally, like, she hasn't stopped. Like, I think we're gonna just have to do it.
Listen, you turned a no into a yes.
Yes. Yeah.
See?
It took me till I was fucking
Listen.
13.
But you got the yes.
Yes.
You got
I
the
did.
yes.
I did. So it's true.
Yeah. No, a no is just an opportunity to create a yes, and you created that.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like that saying. That I've never heard that no is an opportunity for a yes. I'm gonna use it on the next guy that says no to me. Like, you just gave me the opportunity for a yes.
I'm gonna create a yes out of this somehow. Just wait.
I'll find you.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah.
You know, like if you really wanted it, and no wasn't good enough for you, which
Yeah.
is why you asked for 6 years. If you really want it, you're gonna find a way.
Yeah. Do you think you were born to play soccer?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think just how naturally it came to me and how quickly I picked up like all of the skill. I was 100% meant to play soccer.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just it was such an instant like love and connection. Like I didn't love basketball. I was just good at basketball.
Yeah.
Like, I was just athletic. I didn't love track. I was just good at running at a fast pace for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that like I wasn't out at the track practicing sprinting and doing 400s. Like I was out at the track to get in shape for soccer. Like I wasn't worried about my time. Which is I think why my dad was like kind of confused because I wasn't worried. I didn't even know what I ran. I just know I won.
Yeah.
And that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
Like, can I win? If not, like, okay, well, maybe I need to run a little faster. Like, what didn't I do? But even with basketball, like, I wasn't like, oh, I got 20 points this game. I was like, woof, that was a good game, guys. All right, I gotta go to soccer practice. Like, I was never, it always confused my parents. Whereas, like, soccer, I would be like, oh, I gave the ball away 3 times. I had 8 good passes. I had about, 150 touches. Oh, man, on that shot, I should have done this. I would visualize with soccer where I didn't visualize with other sports. Yeah. It was just kind of like that was my thing. Like it was like chess to me. Like I was explaining like looking at different cues and understanding like that's what I loved. Yeah. Whereas like basketball, if I traveled, I'd be like, my bad. Like, I didn't get mad. I didn't hold myself to I competed for sure. I'm a competitor, but
your heart wasn't in
my
it.
heart wasn't in it. My heart was always in soccer. Like, I'd be like, I gotta leave practice early because I gotta go to soccer, and they'd be like, huh?
Yeah,
Like, sorry. Like, I can't. I always chose soccer.
Yeah.
No matter what anything was, soccer was always first.
Yeah. I can totally relate. It was always horses first.
Horses. Like, my parents would be like, girl, if you don't go out and hang out with your friends, I was like, got a game tomorrow. Like, and like, my parents would like force me in high school to like go out because like they're like, you need to do something other than soccer. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, we're playing pickup at the tennis courts. So after that, I'll go hang out with my friends. And they'd be like, fine, but like, you need to hang out. You need to do something outside of soccer. But that was my love. It was like eat, sleep, soccer. Like, I just couldn't. I always had a ball, like I always had a ball. I was juggling to the point where like my neighbors outside, like, if I wasn't outside, they would like ask my parents if I was okay, because I was always. They're like, "Is Jordan sick?" And my parents were like, "No." Like, they're like, "Oh, she just hasn't been outside today." I was literally always outside, like shooting,
practicing.
Literally, the curb is like this big, and I would focus on hitting like balls so that I would use my laces and hit the ball against the curb, and if I got the ball to come directly back to me, I knew like I hit it correctly. If the ball hit it and bounced up, that means there was something wrong with my technique, and I would spend hours like doing that in like precision with both of my feet, or like I'd put like, I think I probably stole cones from the high school. I had like maybe like 10 cones. I think I stole them from the high school. I also stole a ladder from my high school, so maybe I shouldn't admit that, but like
I did a number of things in high school.
I stole ladders, these like Nike Spark ladders. I stole them. I think I still have them somewhere, but I stole cones, and I would like put them, and I would do like my own agility stuff, or
that's cool.
Like I would I would like put them all over the place and pretend like they were like in the middle of the street, and we lived in a cul-de-sac. And I would pretend like they were different defenders, and everything was at speed. Like, I never did anything slow. It was always game-like. Yeah. And so, like, I mean, my cones always got run over because someone always had to get to their house. So, like, by the end of it, like, the cones were just, like, flat. A lot of them, they were just broken. And they'd be like, sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, they're not mine. But, yeah, like, I was always running outside. Like, I was always fit. Like, I was always doing something to make sure that it was never for any other sport but soccer. Yeah. So that's, I think long-winded answer is like, it was definitely something I was wired to play the sport for sure.
Yeah, I see that. Like, there's something when you're all in it, and it's something, it's just, you only see that. Yeah. Like, it's literally like, that's it. Like, you're just like, I need to do this. And your mind it's like consumed in the most beautiful way with it, because you love it so much. And so and when you get into those, like, when you really get deep into it, just like the hitting the ball onto the curb is when you're perfecting something at such a level that you can notice just like when a half millimeter is off. Yeah. You're like, and the whole thing just, like, you're like, oh, I might, like Tim was something, I was like, he's like, you're leaned just like this much that way. And so the horse is like moving. And so then you're like, I got to practice. And I'm like, okay, am I sitting up? And it's the minutia.
Yeah. It's like, have you seen Every Given Sunday?
No, I haven't.
So there's Al Pacino does this speech, and it's like about inches. Like every inch matters. Like, the game is all about inches. It's all about centimeters. It's all about who is willing to adjust that little millimeter, or who's willing to run that extra 5 yards. Like, whoever is willing to make those adjustments is the person that is going to come out on top, because you are willing to go not just to the line, but beyond the line to be perfect. Yeah. And when you're able to do that, like, you're unstoppable. Yeah. And that has taught you, just like for you riding horses, you probably operate in life that way, right? Like, that's why I try to tell parents, like, sports is so important because it teaches you not just to do the bare minimum, but to do beyond.
Yeah.
Because when you do beyond, you'll always be on top. You'll always be successful. You'll always win. And sometimes you don't. And that's just kind of like sports, and that's kind of life. Like, you could do everything perfect, and you could have gone that extra inch, but someone was willing to go that extra 2 inches, and then you get scored on.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, it's such a powerful testament to just how you can operate in life, because you should really watch that Al Pacino.
Yeah. No.
It's very powerful. It's like when I used to watch it before games.
That's brilliant.
Because it's about who's willing to go an extra inch, who's willing to fight for that extra inch.
Yeah.
Like, are you?
Yeah.
If not, then you're not willing to do everything it takes to be successful.
Yeah.
Because an inch isn't that far. That's just like at work. I don't want to send this last email. Okay, well, someone else is willing to do that last email.
Yeah.
So, like, just do it. You're already there.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind, and especially, like, when I started coaching, that girls wouldn't touch the line fully. I'm like, you're right there.
Yeah.
Just touch. But they're worried about not being perfect or not missing the time, instead of worried about doing it the right way.
Yeah.
When you skip it, you still missed it. So you might as well have
tried at least.
Tried it to go to the line and back. Like, don't skip.
Yeah.
Anything.
It's when I walk up and down this hill, this is my exercise. It's when I get to my house and I turn around, I'll be like, you walk all the way to the fucking house and touch that thing, or it doesn't count.
Exactly.
And because I'll keep trying. I'll be like, oh my God, it doesn't. So like now, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like holding yourself accountable.
For sure.
And I think that is incredibly valuable. And sports is such a valuable thing for the mind and for young adults. Like, that's the reason I stayed out of a lot of trouble, was because I had a sport, and it gave me something to feel good and proud of. But it also, like, I have to show up every day for these animals.
Time, yeah.
I have lessons. I have people that are looking at me. So it really grounds you and also makes you present, and then it instills like hard work. Like, it's
100%.
And I think that,
and accountability.
Oh yeah, that's it. So thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I feel like I gave y'all my heart today. No, I mean, thank you for giving me this platform to just kind of have an open dialogue.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that I've given everything I have to give, unless there's something you would like to know more.
Not at this moment. I would love to have you back. This was like the most amazing conversation.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't get to talk sports with anybody.
Oh. Yeah. No, sports is such a passion, because it's truly why I am the way that I am.
Yeah.
People may think I'm kind of like tough or like no bullshit or whatever, but like, that's all from sports.
Yeah.
Like, sports has made me this like very independent and thoughtful and emerging leader, because I'm able to, like we said before, reflect. I'm able to work with different people and from different backgrounds and different, ways of thinking, and just kind of, be like cohabitate with all of these different people and personalities. Because in a team, which is why I love Monarch, like there's a common goal.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be synergy towards that common goal.
Yeah.
And so if we all have different roles, that's where the synergy comes in. We're all doing our own jobs, but they all somehow come together for the common goal, which is overall health, overall fitness for people, getting the misconceptions of what physical therapy or, the medical side and training are. Like, we're all doing our part to make Monarch what it is. And like, it's the one place that I felt like is an actual like team, where I can have autonomy and control what I can control in my own department, but also work with others for this common goal, is to make Monarch as big as it wants to be. So soccer and sports they just teach you so much about life.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, and it teaches you to be just especially when you reach to a high level like you have, where like you can understand things at a level that some people can't.
Yeah.
Just because like if you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
You know, like that saying's like so cliche. Like the girls that get it, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Like you just and that's why a lot of people hire athletes. I think too, is because we work hard. We're gonna put our heads down and work towards the common goal, but like we also just like get it. Like, you know,
it's when I think when you've achieved like some sort of ability at such a high level, you see that when you put effort into something, that it returns dividends on your life.
100%.
And that perception and that perspective is that thing. And so then you can like channel it anywhere you go. And you're like, oh, if I give this like all my effort, I know I'm going to get back everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you know how to, I think too, like athletes struggle with this. I knew that I did when I retired. It's like when my best friend Blake told me, she was like, you just forgot what it was like to start over. You know, like to start something new. Because when you started soccer, like, yeah, you were good, but like it took you like all the way until, you know, high school to garner this attention of, like that all of those years in between from when you were 10 to you're about 15, that was 5 years of growth for you. Like 5 years is a long time to grow, right? And you just expected to, when you retired, be automatically good at something instead of realizing that it takes the time, like the hours I spent hitting against that thing or popping the ball up in the air as far as I could to like trap it with a soft touch. Things that like I can still do to this day because I put so many hours into it. I forgot I did that. Like, you know, like I was like, oh no, I've always been good. Wait, like, yes, but like I had to learn. There was so much learning that I had to do. That when I got into something, if I wasn't immediately good at it, it wasn't like to the level that I was at soccer.
It's difficult.
It's difficult. Like I was a professional athlete and I expect to do everything in life as a professional athlete at that level. But like, that's just not, that's just not realistic because it took me years. I had to go through like trials and tribulations of high school, college. That's 8 years right there to get to be a professional of growth. And then you count, you know, the 5 years of, you know, playing before that. So it's like, holy crap. Like I'm good now, but it's because of the growth and I'm not afraid to learn. And I'm, you know, want to problem solve and seek for knowledge because that's how I was with soccer. So needless to say, all of that, sports helps you, I think, just be, when you leave that world, it helps you be just like a functioning person. You're way ahead than you think you are. You know, you think you don't have any skill, but that's not true.
No, for a while, I 100%, I was like, all I know is horses. I was like, I don't bring anything else. I was like, that's not. But now, like, and then I was just like, oh wait, like it's because we're told like, oh, you're just playing a sport, like it's, you know, whatever, you know, meathead, whatever. Like, and I was just like, what? Like,
no.
And I believed that shit for a while. And so,
it affects how you communicate. I'm sure you're an excellent communicator because you have to communicate with someone who's something that's nonverbal, and you have to have patience because you're working with something that's nonverbal. You have to, your intuition is at a high level because again, you're working with things that are nonverbal. And you know, you have this level of like feeling things out because again, everything that you do, you have to do with people, with something, an animal. They can't talk to you. They can't. And so I think it's you just operate at a higher level of understanding and empathy because you have to empathize with this horse that cannot speak to you. So you don't know if it's having a bad day or not. Like you can feel it and then you can adjust and just, you know, maybe you just rub it or you talk to it or whatever it is. But you have to adjust when things aren't being said to you. That's a hard skill. You know what I mean? Like that is.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to actually having you out at the horses now that we've had this. I'm really happy we had this conversation before because now I can sort of teach you some stuff, and you're good at reading.
Yeah.
So because you're good at reading people, I can help you kind of hone that skill with the horses.
I'm so down.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm attracted to bad boys, which is why I like Inspector.
Yeah.
Because he seems like he's like a little grumpy, a little bit of a bad boy, and I'm
He
like,
liked you though.
I want to love on you. So maybe that's my toxic trait. Like, no matter if you're a human, a dog, a horse, if you're toxic.
It's the same here.
Yeah. He just seems like he was just standoffish. I was like, Every other horse was like, I want a treat. And I was like, Inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm always in awe when I come in here with all, like, your dad's art is insane.
Yeah, no, he's talk about taking things to another level.
Yeah.
Like, he does this so quickly and effortlessly, and it looks, it's in one go.
Oh, wow.
It's not a sketch. Like, he draws it out and then paints it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is really impressive. Do you think he would pull a Michelangelo and sit on his back for 16 hours?
No. He does not. He does not have the attention span. That's why he learned to do something really well, really fast.
Yeah.
So that he can move on to the next thing really quickly.
I love that. Have you been to the Basquiat?
No.
Oh, it's insane.
I haven't seen it.
It's in his like, it just gives you, because like I know this is hard, because like if I try to do that,
it looks like him. That just
looks,
that alone.
But it's not even like an actual portrait. It's just like his features and like little parts of his hair
that tell you who it is.
Yeah, that tell you exactly who it is. So it's like, that is so hard to do, because it just, when I look at it two ways, I see Jimmy, and then I just see a bunch of like shapes.
Yeah.
And how did he pull that from his brain and like put that on there? And that was like the same with Basquiat. Like, a lot of his stuff looked so like, I'm like, I could draw that.
Yeah.
And like, me and my friend, we were like, I think we could draw that. And then we like thought about it, and we're like, it's so imperfect that it's like perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't replicate that if I tried. Like, AI could do it for sure, but like I couldn't. Like, even a stick figure, I don't know if it would not look the same whatsoever. Like, it would just like, it's just fascinating that people just have this natural ability to see that he wants to make it like that, and then put it together.
Yeah, no,
It's insane.
I studied art history, and I like, for me, like, looking, I'm like, my dad is really talented. For a while, I was like, in denial, because I was like, I hate you, Dad. Like, you're not talented. And then I was like, okay, you have to accept that your father is very good. Yeah. And then I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Who was your favorite artist?
Oh, Dolly is quite good. There's this guy, Egon Schiele.
Egon Schiele.
Yeah, Schiele. He would be in, like, what is it, Russian Impressionist, I believe, or something like that. Him and Gustav Klimt have very similar work. That's the embrace, like, it's the kiss with all the gold.
Yeah.
So that he's like that guy, but a little darker.
So do you gravitate towards like the darker art?
Yeah. I definitely, there's something about, because it tunes into that like painful place that I've been. So when you see that, you're like, oh, that artist has been there. Like, and you can feel that, and you're just like, I've been there. And so, like, for me, I've always connected to that kind of stuff. Like, I love the like lighter things, but for me, some of the more twisted, like going to those scary places in your mind, like, because sometimes you're not sure if you're gonna come back. Like, and so like seeing those artists, some of them didn't come back from going to those places in their mind. No. And so like, I really do appreciate that. I also do appreciate like really people who are technically very good, because I practice my technical skills, and I like, there's something to being technically good that I'm attracted to as a human being.
For sure.
And so when I see that in art, I'm just like Dolly, like his stuff, he's so technically good, and his imagination is so broad, and you just look at this and you're like, fuck.
No, you have to send me his name. I've gotten into art as I've gotten older. Yeah. Because, and I don't know much. It's very much like I just started going to museums and like looking at different art, and trying to like feel what they're trying to like make me feel. But I like some of the dark art too, because what's the
Francis Bacon, you got to check out.
Ooh, I don't know him.
Yeah.
But the museum with the lamps out front.
LACMA.
Yeah. There was this one part where it was like, I want to say it was like part of the Renaissance, but it was like all skulls and like the Grim Reaper and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's kind of cool, but is it okay that I think it's cool? Like,
yeah.
Am I okay? But it's just like, I don't know. It to take your inner like demons and put them onto paper for other people to feel like it's relatable, that like, oh, like I also feel like the Grim Reaper sometimes, or I feel like whatever is insane. But I've started to get into art a little more. Yeah.
There's something very powerful about art. Something that I didn't realize it was so powerful even when I was studying it, like, and now working with people and bringing them to the studio to see the art. I see how it moves people, and I'm like, wow, how did I miss this my whole life?
Yeah.
Like, I've been in front of it for so long that it stopped moving me in a way. So I kind of just went numb to, I was like, yeah, it's art. Yeah. And then like bringing people who haven't been around it, I'm just like, it has reignited that childlike sense of like, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm excited about, you know, doing this stuff, like merging the arts and the wellness, because it's, seeing a piece of art that moves you is incredibly therapeutic, but also giving people the opportunity to move themselves through art, like putting those demons onto canvas. Like, that's, I think, part of the reason I was really drawn to it, is I would draw that stuff that I was feeling to kind of get it out.
Yeah.
And so then it's like I turned that ugliness that I felt inside of me into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly powerful, because then you're like, oh, that thing created this. And I'm just like, and I love this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, this is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Is there an era of art that you are drawn to?
Ooh, that's so hard, because art is so different cross-culturally and cross-century-wise that, like, I wouldn't necessarily be able to pick, because like I love the artisans and the bowls and the stone carving that it's just like, how the fuck did they, like, granite is so hard and they make these like beautiful faces, and I'm just like, I carved a stone and I put some holes in it and it was supposed to be like soft stone and I'm like, how did they put the face? Like, so like I think I have such appreciation for it that it's kind of difficult. Like, I love some of the Egyptians, but if I had to choose, it would probably be the stuff on the darker side across everything that usually grabs my attention.
Is that like was that during the Renaissance?
Across most cultures, they always have some sort of like darker art, like, because it's usually mortuary or death or some sort of shamanic type art. And so I've always been more gravitated towards that kind of expression. If I had to try to decide what specifically, like, I would still probably, like, you know, Tim Burton I love, like, and so.
Is he the one that does the Addams Family? Is that him?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So his stuff is all like, you know, a little bit twisted and but colorful, but like morbid. It's a weird, it's a cool blend. And so I would say that things that tend to have that flavor, I gravitate to.
Yeah, no, Tim Burton's cool. I like the character Morticia. I think she's so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I don't want to take up more of your time.
I was like, wait, let's keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, because art is a whole nother like thing. It's there's so many different types of art too. Like you have, I think photography is huge right now. Yeah. Which I wish I was like a good photographer. Like, I like see stuff, I'm like, ooh, that looks cute, and then I take a picture of it and I'm like, ooh, that is not doing that item any justice.
Well, that's like taking a picture of the moon with your cell phone. It
doesn't do it any justice. But like, some people can take it and it like and it looks great. Yeah. But so it's interesting because like we're talking about, were we born to do that? So like your dad was like born to do this.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
He came out swinging, so to speak.
Yeah. Seeing his studio too, like all of that art, like he just like does it.
Yeah. Well, he's like you with that ball kicking against the curb, just hasn't stopped for like how he's like 70 now.
Yeah.
So he just he's still like, he's there right now, Like, he might show up and walk through. He's walked through on a couple of my podcasts and been like, hi, and I'm like, hi, Dad. So now he's like kind of like the guy that walks through periodically. I'm like, hi, Dad.
That's so what's your favorite piece of art that he's done?
Oh, do you remember the Disney, like, it's a Disney piece with Mickey and Donald Duck?
Yeah, that was in your room as a kid?
Yeah,
that's your favorite?
That's my favorite, yeah.
Do you have a top 5?
Kind of the Darth Vader with Mickey. That one definitely takes a spot. The Einstein van with the weird creature, and then like the Einstein creature, and then the weird girl inside, and I realized it's actually like the Dick van. If you look, there's like Moby Dick, there's Dick Nixon, there's Dick Tracy, there's a hot dog, there's the dick coming out of the mouth, and I was like, no wonder this is my favorite. It took me a while to even see it. I was just like, I like this one. Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I really like this one.
So yeah, I think that those ones, and then the ones that are behind the couple of the vans that are those acrylic ones. Yeah. The one that's a Van Gogh is another one of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, that Van Gogh one is dope.
With the irises in there.
Talk about a twisted person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, chopping off your ear and sending it to the one you love. That's a surefire way to get a call back.
Yeah. Can you imagine if someone did that like now?
Yeah. I would be like, what? What?
I'd be like, okay, well, blocked.
I'm flattered.
Yeah. Blocked. Don't ever send me a body part in your life.
See, I've pushed the limit on that one because when I really like love somebody, I'm in love with them. I write like poetry, I make paintings, I write books.
That's different than like sending them like a toe,
Yeah, but I write them like love fantasies and love stories between the two of us.
Would you ever publish any of those in like a book?
I threatened to actually, because I dated a baseball player and a famous baseball player, and I threatened to one day publish the book that I wrote about him and myself, and he just said, please remove my name and address.
I mean, is it a good story?
It's a good story. Yeah, I took the Notebook and made it for like the new age. Yeah.
Do you know how fire that would be? Because everybody loves the Notebook.
I know,
It's a timeless movie, right? Like, you might want to publish it.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely. I told him in there I would, so I'm definitely on top of it. I recently wrote another book and sent it to a book editor, and he's like, I read a lot of books, and usually stream of consciousness books don't work. He goes, but this one does, and so he's editing it at the moment because he said it's worth shopping around. And so
like for a movie?
For publishing, and he said it's worth doing for a movie.
Could you possibly break it up into like a TV show?
Yeah, definitely.
Is it sci-fi or is it fantasy?
Well, it technically is my life, and my life mimics fantasy.
Yeah.
So I just I channel. It's basically, I think it starts from the devil with love, and it's like the devil retelling the Adam and Eve story through me.
That is fire. That is. I was actually just talking to someone about. He's like, such a weird question. So no one judge me if anybody watches this, but he's like, how do you feel about Lucifer? And I was like, I don't think he's all bad. Yeah. Like, I think because it all stemmed from because he started watching the show Lucifer.
Oh, okay. I was like, this is a random
question. I found out later. I was like, I actually don't think he is. We got into like religion, but I was like, I actually don't think he is that bad. I just think like he asked too many questions and got kicked out. And like, you can't, and with religion, like you can't question the Lord. It's just not a thing. Yeah. And I feel the same way about Lilith. I'm like, I just think she just wanted to be her own person and then like got kicked out. Out of the garden. Like it. Yeah, like I think Lilith wasn't bad. Yeah. I think and some people might crucify me for this, but I hate the narrative that like the world went to shit because a woman ate the apple.
It's
like,
funny.
I hate that. Like Adam he's supposed to be the man. Why didn't he stop? Stop her. Yeah. Like he went along with it. So like, how strong of a person is he? Like monkey see, monkey do. I thought we were going against that. What happened to being individuals out here? You know. So I hate that like narrative of like, why can't it be a Romeo and Juliet situation with the apple? You know?
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, let's get out of here.
You'll like my book then.
I'm sure I'll love it. I'm sure I will like read it 5 times. But I think about that too. Like, why can't it be a love story that they wanted to like not be controlled and just like ditch the, you know, the popsicle stand and like go see what's out there and explore and experience things. Like, why is that a bad
And you'll
thing?
need awareness, because before they eat the apple, they're unaware of themselves, right?
Yeah.
But by eating the apple, they become aware, and without awareness, you can't appreciate and enjoy what you're living in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like they were probably just bored. Like they were probably just like bored and like you know nothing. Like you would want to live in a world where you know nothing. Like you don't experience, you know, pleasure of eating fruit or any, like you just wake up. And why was it the girl that was like, I'm bored, like let's do like what? And like the whole, I took a rib from Adam and made Eve, like so women have less ribs, like that's where you're coming. Like I'm Catholic. Well, I'm not Catholic because I've never been confirmed, but like all of those stories always made me question things, but then you're not allowed to question things. So like I like that you put a twist on it of like, you know, what if it was a love story? What if they wanted to experience things together, and it's instead of being like now women are just assholes that ruined everything. Yeah. You know, like that's what it came off to me as a kid, like, because the kids in school would be like, well, Eve ate the apple, and that's why. Like, so let Eve do what she wanted to do. Like, why is that a bad thing? So I'm like, I toggle with. I love that it's like from the devil's perspective or Lucifer's perspective, because what if he was born to do that?
I also made it. Someone pointed out that I made the devil a female.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because why can't it be?
Yeah. It could be anything.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
We actually don't know.
Yeah.
Like God could be a woman for all we know.
Hey.
You know, like. But I guess he's both, or it's both.
I made it I don't know. I don't know if I want to spoil it.
No, don't spoil it.
Yeah, because I gave it to a number of different people, and they're like, this is actually like, they were like, I want more.
Yeah.
And I was like,
hold on.
I was like, I wrote it in 6 days.
Yeah.
Because I would go walk on the track and walk, because I was like, I need to get 2 things done at one time.
Yeah.
I can't sit at the desk and do it.
For sure.
So I typed it all out on my phone, walking a track for hours.
That's amazing.
It's a good idea. It's a safe place to not pay attention and walk at the same
time. No, 100%. Can't do that on the streets. It'll definitely not end well. No. I'm happy that you wrote that fantasy type of thing. I would love to read it.
Yeah, thank you.
I probably would be obsessed. For sure.
I love love stories. Like I'm a huge sucker for love stories. So like I'm glad that each time I've fallen in love with somebody, I write a story about them. They're usually not as receptive to it as I am. They're like,
it's not about
thanks.
them. No, it's not about them. They don't appreciate your art.
This is
okay. That's what it says about them.
But I appreciate them for inspiring the art in me and
everybody
going
needs
for
a
it.
muse.
This is true.
Everybody needs a muse. Everybody. No, I love stuff like that. Like I love the why can't bad be good type of thing. You know? Maybe I'm toxic. Does that make me toxic?
Well, I'm definitely toxic. It's just like, do you have your toxic in control? Because I was like,
I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
Do you have your toxic in check?
Yeah, it's just because then it can be kind of like a fun, sexy thing where you're just like, I want you so bad and I'm obsessed over you. Where it's like, ooh, but as long as it's in control, like, because if it's not, that no longer is sexy and no fun.
Stalker. That's stalker. That's stalker. I want you to obsess over me, but not be waiting outside my house.
Yeah. And so like when it's like toxic turned healthy, like your good and bad thing, it's fantastic and phenomenal. When it's not, it's scary.
Yeah, no, it's super scary, and I need a restraining order. No, 100%. I love that storyline.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's super dope. I'm smiling because like I love it so much, and I actually really want to read it.
All right, yeah, I can send both of them to you. I'm gonna wait because the book editor is working on the other one, so we're gonna like actually make it official. I can send you the one I did a number of years ago, where literally mid-book, I talk directly to the man because I tell him what I'm doing, which is really fascinating.
I don't think I've ever read a book like that.
Yeah, huh?
No, like where it's like actual thoughts.
Yeah.
Like it's your thought. It's like, I can see that as a movie too, where it's just like you're narrating it, but you're talking to the person.
Yeah. That's literally what I
that-
do in the book, where I tell him I'm going to mail it to him, and then I'm going to do all these things. And yeah, I run into him now, like
all the
time at Erewhon. And he actually said hello to me and looked me in the eye the other day, and I was like, we're moving forward.
Okay, it's a step. It's a step. I'm still writing the book, but it's a step.
Yeah. I think I think he was concerned that I was going to do it, but now that it's a number of years have passed, I think he's like, maybe she's not. And I'm like, haha.
That's what I want you to think.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to think. Would you ever write like a sci-fi?
Oh, of course.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you want, we can come up with some ideas.
I would
do
love
some stuff.
I would love to help you brainstorm. I'm a shit writer, so you would have to do all the writing.
Yeah.
But I'm a great storyboard person. I'll come up with some ideas.
Yeah. Come up with some ideas, because I like to exercise and get something done. So like walking up that track and typing on my phone and getting that going. And I also like doing, because everybody's attention span is so short, that they're called novelettes. So anything over 100 pages is considered a novelette. So it's a good, decent like amount,
but it's a quick read.
So people are more likely to pick it up. It's just getting a story that punches you real quick is sometimes hard for some writers, where for myself, I want to get in and out really fast.
Yeah. So like your novelettes, would it be like they're just a bunch of different stories that you could like eventually like put in one book? Yeah,
you could. Gotcha. You could, like for the book that I wrote, the one that the book editor's correcting, I can continue forth, kind of like, because it's a little bit like 50 Shades of Grey as well.
I was thinking that in my head, because she wrote it on her BlackBerry.
Yeah. So it's a little bit like that.
But that was like 200 pages.
Well, I only did 100.
Do you think people pick up a book and be like, this is a little too thick?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm surrounded by people like that, because I'm actually an avid reader, but I'm like, don't you guys just love to read books? They're like, nope. And so, like I sent it to a number of people, and most people were like, yeah, just because it requires,
it's too long.
It requires sitting and looking and doing that. And so like, I did get a number of people that read it, but also a number of people that were just like,
no.
I got more people that watched my video for the and because I could track them with YouTube and be like, did you motherfuckers watch it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, good, they did. And so, but what I was thinking is, because I wrote it, I can actually, with this podcast studio, do the audio version. So then all those people who wouldn't read it can actually listen to it, and it won't be that long, so it won't take up too much of their time.
I hate audiobooks.
I like reading books.
I like reading. I hate audio. I end up not paying attention at all. I was like, I'll try it because my girlfriends do it.
Yeah.
I've just I tune out. There's something that I love about the like turning the page. It's like an accomplishment almost.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my God, I've read half the book in like a day.
Yeah.
Fun fact: my dad's an educator, and he would make me do book reports over the summer. And I used to
Really?
Yeah. He would make me like, and it would be like really good stuff that I didn't appreciate at the time, but now as I'm older, I'm like, oh, I should probably read that. Like it'd be like Malcolm X's autobiography, or like just like different books that had like history or whatever. And then I would have to write like a book report.
Oh, wow.
Because he was an English teacher, like before he became a principal. So he would just always make me write stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I hated reading. I hated the summers because I knew he was going to give me a list of books to read. And I hated it. But then I started to love it because it just like he started to allow me to pick books that I was like interested in.
Yeah.
And like even in high school, like I remember reading like the Da Vinci Code, and I became obsessed with I forget his name. Is it Dan Brown?
I don't know who that is.
The author of the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
I became obsessed with like all of his books because like that was a book I got to pick.
Yeah.
And the Da Vinci Code, and it's like Angels and Demons. I forget the other one that he has, but there's something like that allows you, when you're reading it, it allows you to like have the pictures in your head.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you can start to visualize.
You create the whole scene.
Yeah,
It's like a dream that comes into your mind.
Yeah, it's like I never would have thought they would have picked Tom Hanks to be the main lead in Da Vinci Code, but I just like had like based on how they described the person and what they looked like, it's like I created that in my head. And then when I went off to play professionally, like I was reading even more because I had the time to. And it was just kind of like one of those things that like grounded me a little bit. So I would like read all the time, and I read so many different books. And it's funny because like my dad would come to my soccer games, and he would always have a book with him, like always. And my team was so good that he just like knew we were going to win, so he never had to really pay attention to the game. And so he would like read a little bit, then like watch the game, and then like read a little bit. Then at halftime, he would like smoke a cigar, then like read a little bit. Like, so I think always being around someone who read like physical, like even now, like he always reads like 2 books at the same time. Like, they're completely different books. Like he'll read like like an autobiography, and then he'll read like a fiction or something like that. So, but he always reads 2 different books so he can like flip flop. He's always just been an avid reader. And so now like, I love to just read because it allows you to be in a fantasy a little bit. Yeah, definitely. And create your own like reality within that like time of like reading a book. Yeah. Which I love.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It's even when I was reading my own story, it's like it puts you into there because you have to really focus when you're reading, and I think that I wish that more people would actually like read. It's because like it does take a level of focus, but that's probably what you and I have learned with sports is being able to take yourself, even though you kind of want to get up and go do something or this or that, but like to really sit and focus on something and give it all that attention and really like get into it, like to kind of lose yourself in that thing. For sure, it's an amazing process.
Also, do you know how good of a writer you have to be moved by your own work? Like, like you wrote that so well that you were actually like, ooh, this is good. That means that I cannot wait, because the fact that you wrote it, you know what's in it, and you're still like, huh, I like this. Whoever wrote this did a good job.
It kept me reading.
Yeah, it kept you reading, and you know what happens. That means this book is so fire. Like, I need a copy, autographed.
Yeah,
ASAP.
I just realized.
You wrote it.
I know. I knew where it was going.
Yeah, and you're like, I can't stop.
It was just because it was fun, doing it, and it was just different, and like it was fun because what I did is I flip flop between me and like, I don't want to spoil it. Oh yeah, actually.
No spoil. No. Yeah. I'm gonna still read it even if you do, but
no, I want it because I wanted to that because that's kind of the cool thing that I do in there that I thought was unique and different. I'm glad though. At first I was like, maybe it's not going to make sense because when you write something, you're like, did I leave out things that would make for someone not able to understand my story?
No, but I think that's why you leave that out so that people can have imagination. I love I don't like when writers put too much in there because it's like, allow my mind to wander. Yeah. So like I'm waiting for like the second novel or whatever's coming out, like allow me to also like bring my own creativity into the story of what I think could or would happen. I
like that.
Yeah. I think sometimes less is more, right? You don't want to give people too much because you want them to like, that's what keeps you turning the next page. Yeah. Like some of the best writers do that where like they give you just enough, or not where you're like, well, fuck you didn't tell me anything. Yeah. But you're also like, oh, I didn't expect that. Yeah. Like I love that type of like novel or like fiction or sci-fi. Like I love that stuff.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for that.
But you need to sell this to Netflix ASAP and make it like a series.
That's my
no movie. I need to like be able to digest the hour episodes and then like come back.
You can help me do the next installments.
Yeah.
Once I send it to you, you can read it, and then we can. Like,
I can play Eve too if you need me to.
Yeah. No, it's Eve is I think every single woman.
Yeah.
So that's
100%.
like for me it's cross narrative or whatever. It's if you're a woman, you're Eve, and if you're a guy, you're Adam. So anybody can kind of relate.
I wonder what actually happened to Eve. I can't remember. After they got kicked out, they like had Cain and Abel. I don't.
Didn't they? One of them died.
Yeah, they both died.
I think that was in Year. Did you ever see the movie Year One?
No.
With Jack Black, and because they have the Cain and Abel story, and it's Jack Black and some other actor. I forget his name. I think he was Tobias in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And so like it's that guy, and I think he plays Cain, and it's fucking funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, beside the point, I don't remember. I didn't read the Bible per se.
Yeah.
Like I just know the Genesis story and like the God making the world in 7 days.
Yeah.
And so like that's I know Eve talked to a snake. The snake said, "Eat the fucking apple," and she's like, "All right, cool." And then she's like, "Adam, try this apple," and Adam tried the apple, and then the rest is fucked.
Yeah.
Right for them. I don't.
No, I mean listen. We have our own thoughts now.
Yeah.
So people have free will.
This is true.
So it can't be all bad.
No.
Yeah,
I don't. I think that it's open to interpretation, and it's
100%.
And things when they're written can be one-sided.
100%.
And so, like looking at it, it's like nobody got the snake's perspective on this story.
None. Like he was like, "Listen, y'all, I was just kidding. I didn't think she was actually gonna do it." And by the time I blinked my eyes, like they both got kicked out. I don't know. It was a joke. It was just a prank. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was just curious.
Funny. That could be a funny skit.
Yeah, that could be such a funny skit. Like I really didn't think she had it in her to do. I turned my back and Adam ate it too. I don't know. It's crazy world. And now I'm still in the garden and they're out there fending for themselves.
This is true.
Yeah. Yee, my bad.
Maybe that was the snake's plan the entire time.
Yeah.
It was just the snake wanted the entire garden to itself.
Yeah, he was like, God's bluffing. I'm gonna call his bluff.
Yeah, he's not
I'm gonna
gonna
call
do
his
it.
bluff. Oh shit, it actually worked. Oh fuck, he wasn't bluffing. All right, that was crazy.
He's the God of his word.
Yeah, literally. And then every other animal's like, damn, what happened to Adam and Eve? Like, oh, they ate the apple and got kicked out. That's crazy. That's also the book of. Have you seen the Book of Eli?
No.
So the book, it's Denzel Washington, who I love. Shout out to Denzel if you ever watch this. But it's basically you find out at the end. You ever plan on watching it?
You can tell me. You can spoil it.
Okay. So basically at the end of the story, you find out that he's blind, but everyone's chasing him for this Bible or this book, but nobody knows what the book is.
Yeah.
You just see Denzel like reading it like all the time.
Yeah.
But at the end, you find out he's blind and it's Braille. But essentially, the world has gone to shit. Like, we got bombed or some shit. So, like, the world started over. Yeah. And so he's on his journey, on his way to get to San Francisco because that's where, like, the last library of, like, all knowledge and information is. Mm-hmm. And so he's tasked with this job that you find at the end by God to get this book all the way to San Francisco because it's the last Bible ever. Oh, wow. And it just happens to be in Braille. So you see Denzel like fighting and doing all this other stuff. And you're like, damn, like he can fight. Like that's crazy. And at the end, you just find out that everyone's fighting for this book so that they can control, like they can have control by the word of God. Oh, and wow. So it was just like this very interesting thing. He ends up making it all the way. And then you find out that he's blind, and you're like, how the fuck was he fighting these people and, like, ducking and weaving and, like, killing? Like, how was he doing all that? And then it's basically just, like, I guess God gave him his eyesight back or, like, was able to allow him to see in some capacity so that he could finish his journey he basically, like, another disciple for God. It was so cool of how they like did it and how they basically said like religion in the wrong hands can be detrimental to society, because you could, like the guy that the famous guy that where the saying comes from, like, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Like where he just killed all those people for no reason.
Jamestown or something.
Yeah, and like all those women and children just like died, and he was like able to convince them to like drink the Kool-Aid, and like, yeah, that's insane.
And I think on the last podcast, I told everybody that I was going to teach them to be their own cult leaders, because then if everybody's a cult leader, then there's no cults.
There's no cults.
Because everybody's leading themselves.
Everybody's leading themselves. Like, no, I don't want to join yours. I have my own.
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant plan.
No, it is a brilliant plan, but it's like, it's insane that people can convince other people to do, or what happened in Ethiopia where this priest convinced everybody to starve themselves. And like 200 people died.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Insane.
Why do people, I've come up with a number.
That's evil. That's a whole nother evil.
Well, that's coming up with a bad idea and running with it.
Oh, 100%.
And not willing to let it go.
No.
Yeah. Like the idea while I was cooking my food was like, put your hand on the stove. And I was like, I sat there and I chuckled.
Everyone has that idea.
Yeah, but that's the same thing with like the guy who's like, let's starve 200 people. It's the same idea that flashes through your mind. You just go, you know what? No. You just like,
no.
You just say, thank you for the idea, but I pass.
Yeah, no, I pass. But like, I think sometimes if people are like, oh, you can get into heaven if you do this, they're like, okay, well, I'll do it. But like, what? No.
Yeah, I think people, there's a lot of, like, because looking at toxic, manipulation, like manipulating other people, like 100%. I think from an early age as little kids, we learn how to emotionally manipulate our parents.
100%.
Yeah, and then I think if we haven't, as adults, realized what we're doing, then we're trying to emotionally manipulate everyone around us, especially the one we get into a relationship with.
Oh, 100%. Like, relationships are like where you learn to manipulate the most.
Yes.
You learn to get your way. And it's like, we're all just really good at sociology, I guess. Like, understanding people. Yeah. Like, you have to in order to be able to manipulate people. That's why scam artists are so, like, they should go into psychology.
Yeah.
Because, like, you are able to scam everybody. Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. Like, wow, you made me believe that my money was actually going here, and it's actually just in your pocket.
Yeah, I had two people do that to me.
Yeah.
In trying to get this foundation going, and I was just like, they told me they were helping people.
No.
They were helping them. They were helping people, but themselves.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, we're gonna help someone.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. Yeah. Just I'll get back to you.
Insane. Yeah. Insane that, and they can sniff that. Like, they can sniff a good person too. Yeah. They can sniff it out real quick.
Well, it's one of them, like, I made friends through somebody I was dating, and I thought it was his family. Like, so I figured it was his family, so I put my guard down. It was like, oh, it's his family, like, that's his mom's cousin, like, because my family, they're genuine, like, they're not, like, so I just figured that his family was the same way.
And that's what they wanted you to do.
I never told him, though, because we're still friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I would tell him. Listen, they try to scam me.
I can't, not yet. I have to, there's too much, it's too close to this situation.
No, you gotta, this is something you gotta hold on to for like another year. Be like, by the way, this happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, your cousin there.
Yeah, scammed the shit out of me. Yeah. Insane. Well, I gotta get back to work. Yeah. But I do want to come back. This has been so much fun.
This is great. Yeah. I really enjoy it. Maybe we
definitely hit everything.
Yeah,
but there's more to go.
Oh, there's so hours and hours and hours.
I could talk all day.
Yeah. It's the same. This is why I have the studio now.
For sure. Well, thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a pleasure. No, this is great. Yeah, I haven't laughed this much in a while.
Same. My cheeks are definitely like.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling.
They're definitely got a workout in. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna feel it tomorrow for sure. But no, thank you for being open and allowing me to like feel comfortable and kind of talking about just my life at soccer and Conrad's death and my transition. It's been awesome. Yeah. It was kind of like therapy session. So it was good.
Yeah. Same. Like
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself and your interest in my equestrian career. Like I actually haven't looked at it like this way. So it was really, it's super beneficial to see it through your lens back to me.
Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to do what you've done? Like that's extremely hard. Like that's hard, and it takes dedication and it takes time. And I think as an athlete, you never ever appreciate what you have like you are taught to like down your accomplishments, like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm doing it, so like I'm supposed to be perfect, but not everyone reaches that level that you've reached, right? And like not everyone is able to do what you do. Like there's very few people that are at a certain level, you know. Not everyone reaches that. So it's like I always try to teach that to my athletes of like, you are your best thing. Like you are the best currency that you can offer to the world. By you showing up and being your best every single day, like that is the best thing that you can do for yourself and for the people around you. So just you are your best thing. Like that's in what I want everybody to like realize. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautifully said.
You're welcome. Alrighty, guys.
Right. For the 100th goodbye.
Yeah, the 100th. We've said goodbye like 2 hours ago. Anyway, and I'm like, anyway, so.
All right.
All right, officially goodbye.